Hey, good evening, everybody. Welcome to week 15 of Don't Ask Me Why. Roger here along with Reggie. Actually, it's Don't Ask Me Why with Reggie and Roger. I'm Roger, and this is Reggie.
It's interchangeable. It can go either way.
Yeah, it's easy to get confused. Two R's, but Reggie and Roger. Reggie first, of course, not because of any, because he's ahead of me in anything or whatever. It's just alphabetically RE comes before RO.
Yeah.
And that's the same way it went on in elementary school. When you and I were both at the back of the alphabetical line on our way to lunch.
I hated that.
Didn't you hate the people named like, Albert and
Brown,
and Andy? Yeah.
Carter. Like, oh.
They were the ones that went on to, graduate from Ivy League schools and have graduate degrees because they got to be the first in line in elementary.
I thought they went on to cook meth.
Do what?
Nothing. Never mind.
Okay. So, again, welcome to the show. Welcome to week 15. We got a lot to talk about this week. First of all, let's start with the fact that we did plan to have two-time guest Chris from Hollywood Casino tonight, and he is going to be on a future episode. Had a schedule conflict come up tonight, but he will be on within the next 2 or 3 weeks. So we're going to go first of all start with what we usually do, which is a recap of our picks for the previous week. We've had back-to-back not so good weeks, and maybe this is sort of not a good way to put it, or it sounds like excuse making, but we were so close on the games that we missed. Case in point, Reggie had the Ravens -7 over the Rams. They won by 6. You also had Detroit, and who were they playing?
The Bears. My Bears.
And that game was into the 30s in the third quarter, wasn't it?
Yeah. So when it got to the fourth quarter, the Bears had, I want to say, a 14-point or maybe a 13-point lead. And I was like, hey, the Lions are going to come back, make it a one-possession game. We're going to make that over. We're good. And then all of a sudden they get stopped on 4th and 1. So I was like, well.
Yep. I was watching all those games, and that's exactly how I felt about it when I was watching that game in the third quarter. I was like, okay, we got this one. So anyhow, do you have our overall record?
Our overall record is 35-32-5, which brings us to a still solid, strong percentage of 52% for the year. So we're still above 50%. I think we're going to bounce back this week. I like the picks this week. I like the picks last week, quite frankly, but I feel a lot more confident in what we're putting out there on both of our pick sixes.
Yeah, and if you've been with us all year, you know that we typically have longer winning streaks, in a row. With this, the first time all year in 14 weeks that we've had a 2-week stretch where we didn't have a winning record. So that's all going to change this week. Stick with us.
Please do.
Profits for profit.
The profits of the profit.
So many things to talk about. I think the biggest thing right now in the NFL, to me anyway, Reg, is the way that backup quarterbacks are taking the league by storm, really. And, at the top of that list, of course, is Tommy Cutlets DeVito. He had another big game on Monday night. They win their 3rd in a row with Tony Cutlets. He won the game with a game-winning drive late in the game to beat the Packers as an underdog. And his agent, this is really a rags to riches type story. And then his agent, if you guys have seen him, I thought when I first saw him before that game on the sidelines with this pinstripe suit and his hat, I thought that he was some kind of a fake. I didn't realize that was really his agent.
You thought it was an AI agent?
I thought it was an AI agent or just some kind of an imposter that had come out of the stands, and dressed up to be his agent. But he's the real deal. That's really his agent. So I imagine that that if you were talking to his agent, who is sort of a Sopranos type throwback character, that after the game he would have been, doing the whole, money thing with his fingers and, and like, hey, they saying he threw for 173 yards. Everybody saw he threw for 300 plus. Right. And just, I know some of these statistics, guys. I'm going to take care of this, that type of thing. So this is absolutely a wonderful thing because it's happened in the NFL. It's happened in other sports for years and years and years, where you would have a flash in the pan like this, a character, and he takes the league by storm for a few weeks, and then eventually they fade away. But in the sake of Tommy DeVito, and I hope that Danny DeVito shows up at their next home game.
That would be awesome.
And pretends to be like his long lost uncle.
I'd rather see Danny DeVito than Taylor Swift at a game.
Thank you very much. Me as well. But that'd be a beautiful.
But like I told you, I stay a little far away from this little segment and let you kind of run things. So I'm glad you got that out of your system.
It is out of my system. I am smitten with the whole thing. Yeah, I love it.
It reminds me of kind of Linsanity-ish. I don't know if it's gotten to that point, but as far as sustaining that kind of hype, it's a potential of getting to that stage in the New York area. So
that's a good call, Reggie. That's a good call.
But overall, they're playing better. Potentially, Dayball's job is being saved as we speak. And is Daniel Jones being usurped potentially? Is he being Willie pipped by chance by Tommy DeVito? I'd probably say no, but who knows?
Now he's got people in New York talking playoffs.
Hey, why not? I mean, overall,
so because everybody's in it now.
Exactly.
Everybody's in the hunt now. Exactly. So back to that whole category of backup quarterbacks taking the league by storm. Joe Flacco last week for Cleveland. Yeah. That time off, that year off, has done him a world of good, hasn't it?
Do you think that he was training, or was he on the couch practicing for a commentator gig with a local Baltimore sports radio station? What do you think he was doing during this period to get prepared for this moment?
Totally a hybrid type of situation.
Okay.
He was watching week after week the rash of injuries to starting quarterbacks. And if he still thought that he could play, which he obviously can, he was thinking to himself, I'm only a couple of guys away before Cleveland made the call. He was saying to himself, I'm only a couple of guys going down before I get the call. And I'm gonna have a job for the rest of the year. That's a pretty nice gig for somebody to, 38 years old, to come in for, half a year and try to get it done. And he was great last week. But that's not it. It's not just Tommy Cutlets DeVito and Joe Flacco. It's Jake Browning in Minnesota, or in Cincinnati. It's the mustache Gardner Minshew in Indy. And even Bailey Zappi in New England came in and got a win. It's not a one-hit wonder type of thing, Reg.
I mean, it's been an ongoing theme throughout the entire season. Backups have really carried the news cycle pretty much every week. A star quarterback getting injured, in comes a second string or third string. You had the Dobbs situation where he left as a backup in Arizona, got traded to Minnesota, came in the last moment, and now he's a starter. Now he's getting replaced and benched by Nick Mullins. So it's just this whole sort of cesspool of backups, where I don't think this is a good thing from a marketing standpoint for the league. And and certainly it's not good as far as play. So, diehards are gonna find the good in the league, period. I know I do, I know you do. But the fringe football fan, they're probably seeing this and saying, you know what? What's going on with the Lakers right now? How are the Celtics doing? So I think this isn't necessarily a great thing for football. However, it's still exciting and great to see players who otherwise wouldn't have a chance to really display their talents and contribute.
I would agree with you, except in the case of New York and the Giants. Because you correlated it to the Linsanity situation with the Knicks when he became an overnight sensation.
Right.
New York, I think, takes these sort of streaking stars, one-hit wonders, flashes in the pan. New York City tends to take these guys and put them into idol category, which, as in most other cities, it's kind of like it is what it is. They sort of realize it's maybe a short-term thing. But anyway, it has been incredible to watch what the backups have done. And a lot of these guys have put their teams back into contention out of being on the scrap heap. Teams that had been left for dead are now really legitimate contenders for playoff spots. The Giants, believe it or not, they're only a game back of being in a wild card spot. The Bears are still in it. The Vikings, despite their 3-0 ridiculous win last week and not really having any certainty at quarterback, they're still alive. And the Jets are still technically there, but some of these teams, I think, are going to get washed out of the mix pretty quick because of the schedules that they have coming down the stretch.
I'm looking at the AFC and NFC playoff standings right now. Only one of those teams that you mentioned are in the playoffs right now, and that being the Minnesota Vikings, inexplicably. But everyone else is pretty much mathematically still in it. There's no way that the Bears are going to make the playoffs. I think they're playing good enough, but I don't think they want to play too good, because now you're looking at compromising draft positioning. The number one seems to be locked up with Carolina playing the way that they're playing. So we're good in that front. But it would be good to have those two top picks in the top 10 draft picks, potentially leveraging that. So a lot of times, and as a Commander fan, you can relate where being mediocre is good. It kind of gets a little momentum going and great for morale to a degree, but it leaves you in purgatory when it comes to draft positioning. So it's not a matter of you wanting a team to tank, but ultimately you got to kind of think long term. So I think the Bears are in that position. I think the Giants are in that position. And I think the Jets are in that position where we don't necessarily want to get too competitive, but let's be good enough, but let's not jeopardize prime draft positioning.
Okay. So first of all, I've known you for a few years now, Reggie. And when you were talking about the Bears, I don't believe a word that you said. Okay. I believe that if we are in week 16 or week 17 and the Bears are right there tied for a wild card position in the playoffs, you are going to be front and center pulling for them to win, to get into the playoffs. And the fact that they might be compromising a longer term thing with draft picks or whatever is going to be the furthest thing from your mind. That's what I believe in the mind of Reggie Reynolds.
You're spot on. No lies detected, as the kids say.
We did need a disclaimer there when you were talking about that stuff.
No, but let's say we get in 9-8. 9-8 wild card.
Yeah. And they would be hot as fire going in.
We get in as a 7 seed and end up having to play somebody like Dallas or Philadelphia. Hey, you never know what could happen. We're not winning the division. We're going to be on the road. It just seems like it will be a good experience. I think some of the benefits of making the playoffs is there are bonuses that do kick in for players. So I'll look at that silver lining, yeah, for the totality of the team as a whole. It's great that we made it this far. Some players got some bonuses that kicked in. The 53rd man on the squad probably got a playoff bonus that matched his entire season salary. So I like it for that standpoint. But once the dust settles and we get our tails kicked in that first game, then reality sets in again. Now we have a number 1 pick, which is great. And then we also have a number 16 to 17 pick where the Bears tend to not know how to handle things in a draft. So,
You need to be more of a dreamer,
oh,
Reg.
I have Dreamer tattooed on my arm.
Do you?
I do. I do.
It's like me when it comes to relationships with women. It's like, people talk to me sometimes and they'll say like, "Oh, you've never been married? You're not married?" And my whole thing is like, "What's the rush? What's the rush? I got plenty of time.
Plenty.
Don't
Infinite.
The world is my oyster.
Oysters.
I'm still dreaming." So, like I said, we had some questions for Chris that we're going to discuss tonight, but a couple of those questions are really something that, that we'll hit him up with when he does join us. But a couple of them that we had that we're going to talk about are things that I wanted to throw out there just the same. We saw last week a couple of situations where point spreads, the starting point spreads early in the week changed significantly as we got toward the end of the week. We talked last week, I think, about, Trevor Lawrence and him maybe being hurt and how that affected the point spread. But, some other things that people that bet on football, especially who have taken it up since gambling has become legal in several states, they sometimes might neglect some of the factors that can take a point spread and move it heavily in one direction or the other. Weather is one of those. Every week, before I make my plays, I'm always looking at the weather forecast. Like you were talking about last week, we're talking about Baltimore and LA. In Baltimore, that weather forecast was, midweek. It was pretty dire, for that afternoon, for Sunday afternoon. It was like, projected 30-mile-an-hour winds and heavy rain. As it turned out, it sort of, subsided a little bit, and you had a final score of 37-31. So a lot of people looking at that weather situation early in the week when they made their play, they might have thought, "Oh, this is under. I'm going under." And then, of course, 68 points scored.
Yeah.
So, do we have any listener questions this week?
Not this week, but on that topic of the Baltimore and Rams, that was what I consider an ugly win. That was an ugly win. And I think they walk away from that win feeling like, hey, you know what? We're not as good as we're advertised. And to me, the better team on that field was the Rams. And traditionally, over these past 4 or 5 years, with Lamar Jackson in December or Baltimore in December, they cool off. They cool off considerably. And so you're starting to see the same thing, albeit they have this new offensive scheme. I love the fact that OBJ is getting back in the mix, but a team like Baltimore, they're almost back to where they were these previous seasons, where they're going to start out hot and then they're just going to kind of taper off and eventually maybe win one playoff game and get ousted by one of their AFC foes. So that really stood out to me and just said, you know what? They got lucky. They got real lucky. And I'm not sure how things are going to shake out for them for the remainder of the season. They really have to tighten things up in these close games.
They're vulnerable for sure. But one thing that I do like to see, at least on the offensive side of the ball for Baltimore, is I like to see the maturity of OBJ. And by the maturity, what I'm referring to there is the fact that he used to have to be like some people's children. They got to be the center of attention all the time. When he got to Baltimore, I think, has really settled in and become comfortable with being an integral part of their success and where they need to go. But he's fine with not being like the attention getter all the time. He's fine with being a key part of a bigger team concept. And offensively, anyway, they, like you said, they're vulnerable. I said they're vulnerable. They could lose in the playoffs, but offensively, I don't think that's where it's going to happen if they do lose in the playoffs. I think it's going to be on the defensive side of the ball.
We'll see. We'll see.
There's no more Ed Reeds.
Not because I had Baltimore -7 in that game, but it does play a part in it. But I expected a lot more from them at home against a team that should be far less superior than they are.
Yeah. Yeah, agreed. So let's look at our picks for the upcoming week, and just as a means of trying to turn the mojo around a little bit. Usually we start with your picks. I'm going to start with mine this week, and thinking that maybe that will give us a little bit of the man upstairs might sort of turn things around for
the
us.
Football gods. Thou do it.
Right, because we're the prophets and all that. But I'm going to start with the Rams bouncing back from that really not disappointing loss, but it had to have been disappointing to them to go on the road and play that well in a game as an underdog and lose in overtime. They have to be disappointed, but I think that they will come back against the woeful Commanders. And I'm a Commanders fan, but you bet with your head and not with your heart. And I believe that, earlier on within the last couple of weeks or so, on one of my parlay bets at the casino, I took the Commanders with a big point spread, and they have been crushed the last 2 weeks by 25, 30 points. So the Rams are going to come back. They're playing really well offensively, and they will take full advantage of the Commanders' porous defense, especially in the defensive backfield, and they will win that game comfortably. I think 6.5 is a very light spread. I would take that one and run to the bank. I also like Reggie's Bears +3 at the Browns.
They're hot.
Has Roger lost his mind? Is he a little bit senile? Is old age catching up? Something like that. Why would he take the Bears at the Browns +3? Well, a couple of things. Number one is that the Browns defense is going to be severely depleted this week. Two of their top defensive players are out. Grant Delpit, their leading tackler this season. And excuse me with the pronunciation, but Ogbo Okoronkwo, their defensive end, who is Ogbo. Yeah.
All right. Go ahead, Rod.
We'll call him 00.
007.
00. Ogbo Okoronkwo is out. He's a defensive end. Now, he is second on the team in sacks to Myles Garrett. Okay. There's a big gap there. He also has 12 tackles for losses. So, you might say, like, well, you still got Myles Garrett there. Listen, a defense is a unit, and Myles Garrett is a superstar, but I don't think he can do it all by himself, especially missing that support in the defensive backfield with their leading tackler being out. So That plus the fact that Chicago has played really well the last 2 or 3 weeks and are on somewhat of a roll leads me to believe that they can be very competitive and I think win this game.
This is a huge test for the Bears, and again, every week is a trial week for Justin Fields, and he's passing so far. So jury's still out, but I love what I'm seeing.
Should they win that game, Reggie, and a couple of other teams lose, with a win this weekend, they could easily get back into it. And I also like Tennessee, the Titans at home, -2 against the Texans. Now, the Titans are nothing if they're not inconsistent. They are the model of inconsistency. They lose at home, a game they should have won against Indianapolis that they had, they had the game won. And then they let the mustache come back and beat them. And then they go down and play the Dolphins, the offensive explosive powerhouse. And they're a 14-point underdog? And they win that game.
Something like that. Something crazy.
Yeah. So now they come back home to Tennessee. And I think that the injury, the concussion to CJ Stroud is very key in terms of my pick here. He's still in concussion protocol. He still could be cleared to play before Sunday. But if I'm the Texans, I don't know if you agree or not, but if I'm the Texans, even though they're in contention, I do not let him on the field because he's way too big of a prized possession as a player to chance it and have him come out there after just having a concussion. So I'll take Tennessee -2. What do you think, Reggie?
Who's their backup? Davis Webb?
Davis. Is it Miles or
Webb? I thought.
Is it Webb?
I think so.
I have to. I'll look that up while you're telling us what your picks are for the week.
Okay. No, but Davis Webb, Davis Miles, Davis whoever. When he came in to spell Stroud, he looked pretty serviceable. He completed some nice passes. So I don't think it's going to be a drop off, of course, but I think he'll be able to keep them respectable. So
Davis Mills.
Davis Mills. What did I say? Webb?
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyways, yeah.
We both
Davis Mills, that guy.
Yeah.
Another backup for you.
Right.
Absolutely.
And he'll throw for 400 yards this week and 3 touchdowns.
Oh my God. All right. So over under, I'm gonna go with the over under Broncos, Lions. I'm not gonna go over. Typically I've been going over, but I read a statistic that scoring is down, and I think we didn't need a stat to tell us that this year. The scoring has been down, and just based on the amount of injuries to star players, obviously that's going to have an adverse effect on scoring. But the average score for games this season is 43 points. So the over-under of the Broncos Lions is 47.5. I'm going to follow the stats. I'm going to follow the numbers. I'm going to go under. Okay. I think the Lions are going to stymie Russ. I'm not saying who's going to win or who's going to lose, but I think it's going to be a low-scoring affair. Jared Goff seems a little shook, so I see it falling under 47.5. Chiefs -8.5 at Patriots. After Mahomes had his little hissy fit last week, I really think that he has a point to prove, and who better to do it against than Belichick and the hapless Patriots. 3 wins, a huge win last week. I think I saw Ezekiel Elliott get a first down to end the game and start doing his little feed me gesture. Yeah. Man, if you don't put that fork and spoon down, nobody feeding you no more, man.
Yeah.
It's a wrap. Stop that.
Yeah.
Golly. But anyways, I do like the Chiefs to bounce back and to make a statement.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know how much of a statement can be made against a team that will draft second in a upcoming draft, but a statement nonetheless. The Patriot, um, the Patriot way isn't the Patriot way any longer.
Hey,
So,
before you make your third pick,
yep.
just real quickly, kind of a yes or no type thing. Belichick with the Patriots next year, yes or no?
No, no. And I think we were early on that as far as posing that question. We probably posed that question about 3 or 4 weeks ago. And and I think I saw a report saying that it's almost a done deal now as
Yeah.
far as they're parting ways.
Mm-hmm.
So hey, it's no fault of his. You can only sustain that amount of greatness for so long, or you can only have Tom Brady as your quarterback for so long, and the well is run dry. So I think they need to just rebuild.
Yeah, and I agree with you, but so Belichick still wants to coach, right? So would he uh
I already know where
jeopardize
you're going.
his legacy of his maybe the greatest of all time coach in the NFL? And if it was the only job offered to him was with the Carolina Panthers and their terrible owner, Tepper, who would throw a bucket load of money at him or whatever, would he take that on, knowing what a dismal situation it is?
I think so. I think so. Um, at this point, the way Bryce Young is looking and the way the pundits and scouts have been talking about his progress, I think he's almost become a reclamation project already.
Right?
Um, but again, it's one year, not even a full season, but his confidence looks shot. This is what the old school used to warn us against, where bringing the quarterback in too early could shatter their confidence, and really could do damage to the psyche early on if we bring him in too early. I think he is a victim of that right now. So you have the CJ Stroud side of the coin, and then on the other side, you have the Bryce Young, where he's in a bad situation. Things just aren't working out. He looks lost. He looks scared. He doesn't look like an NFL quarterback. He
Mm-hmm.
looks like he needs to be back in college. So Belichick, I could see him, because they have a nice defense, but it's not being highlighted because the offense looks so bad.
Right.
So I really, to answer your question, I can see it. I can see it. I definitely see him in Washington before I see him there.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Or
yeah.
perhaps
And
Chicago. What? What?
Oh, that's hilarious. Yeah, right. If I had my choice between um Belichick and Bieniemy, I'm taking Bieniemy in a heartbeat. I don't even like Belichick's energy. He be up there, on to the next week. We're looking forward to Kansas City. We're looking forward to Cincinnati. Man, get that grumpy nonsense out of here, man. Nobody want to hear that.
Here's me challenging Belichick. I thought he deserved a chance to play.
There you go. I don't want you coaching the Bears, Raj. I'm sorry. I don't like that.
We thought it was time to pull him from the game.
Yeah, I think it's time for me to introduce my third pick,
And here it
the
comes.
Giants. The Giants +6 at
I
New
like it.
Orleans.
Tommy
I love it.
Cutlets, baby.
Tommy Cutlets. So the Giants have obviously been playing a whole lot better.
Yeah.
Probably the best they've been playing all season.
Saquon's doing well. He's playing better.
Saquon is healthy. It's just a matter of health.
Yeah.
So he's healthy. He's looking good out there. On the other side, New Orleans, Kamara's been balling a little,
Yeah.
but David Carr seems a little. Is it Dave? I'm sorry, Derek Carr seems a little frustrated out there.
He is who we thought he was.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So Yeah, so I do like the Giants +6 on the road. I just that and I think and I believe the over under. I'm not sure what the over under is on
It
that,
was like
but
39.
yeah, it's something. Yeah, 39. It's 39. So I see that being under. I see it being a nasty, uh, just slug it out type of affair. But I do love the Giants. It's going to be a close game, so I don't care what the end result is. I know it's going to be a close game. I'm pretty
But
confident that that is going to be a very close game.
but if the Giants happen to win, which would be their fourth win in a row with Tony Cutlets DeVito, I will be doing everything I can to get his agent on DAMW next week
Oh yeah,
to make at
especially
least
after
yeah, to make at least a cameo appearance.
yeah yeah, especially after that impression. I think that definitely will sweeten the pot.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So next week, Reg, coming up, we're hoping to have either Chris back next weekend or our other special guest that we'll have between now and the end of the year. Former NFL player Ratcliffe Thomas, also a former University of Maryland star. Little known fact about him that was intriguing to me is that before he went to Maryland to play football, he was a McDonald's All-American basketball player, right?
Athlete.
So he had a basketball scholarship to Maryland and then decided to go to switch off and play football. So
Oh yeah, we got to ask him about that.
yeah, that's going to be a good topic to talk to him about. And he also went to a military academy, like Tyrone Drakeford did, our guest a couple of weeks ago. So hopefully, you folks are enjoying the content that we're putting out there every week. We try to have great guests as often as we can. And again, this week we will pick up the winning record on the picks. After a couple of down weeks, stick with us. The profits of profit are still with you, and we're gonna help you win. So, what else do we have, Reg, before we close it out?
One question: what team should be the most concerned out of the Super Bowl opponents from last season? The Eagles or the Chiefs from this point going forward?
I would have to say the Eagles at this point. The losses that Kansas City has had the last couple of weeks. Of course, last week it came down to literally the last minute, one of the last plays. Philadelphia got defeated soundly by Dallas, and they were beaten soundly by San Francisco. So they got a lot of rebounding to do. So with 3 or 4 games left in the year, I would say that it's more of an uphill climb for them than it is for the Chiefs.
I agree. I agree. And to their credit or their detriment, I guess, those are the 2 best teams in NFC that they had to play back to back.
Yeah.
We alluded to the short window that they had to bounce back, but excuses are excuses. They got Seattle upcoming, but I do agree the road is going to be tougher because Dallas and San Fran, they will have to meet or face one of them, if not both, eventually
Right.
next month.
And remember, the injury bug is that thing that nobody can foresee. So key injuries for any of these teams that we just talked about can change the dynamic of expectations going down the stretch. So anyway, thanks, folks. As always, join us, watch us on YouTube, like and subscribe on YouTube. Please leave your comments, as several of you have. And look for us also on Instagram. We're posting a lot of shorts now, a lot of shorts, reels, whatever you want to call them. We have a big presence on Twitter now, and we're available on everywhere you can get podcasts, Spotify, Apple, any place else they can get us, Reg, pretty much everywhere, right?
Pretty much everywhere. Smash that like button. Everywhere, every platform has a like button. Hit it.
Smash it. Good night, everybody. We'll see you next week.
Peace.